We are live. We are live. So go ahead,
Shalom.
Bishop Shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Bashim Hawashai, Bashim
All right,
Kakudash,
hey,
Brakatwan.
Rocket
You're now. I
Yahweh,
can't.
Yahweh Shai,
Con.
Rocket Yahweh, for okay. And the lesson, I
Yep.
mean, we forces of the power air uh, buffering the stream as much as we keep trying to do it. So we're gonna try to fight through it and get it done. We've been having technical difficulties, and then on top of that, we've been getting strikes on the account where we can't upload. Now, the medium that we're using to record this, I mean, we keep having these different technical difficulties. We were just talking to another brother on another bishop on the phone. He's having problems at his house trying to do something. So it ain't just me. It ain't just my connection. It's all the brothers. But again, shalom to you brothers out there. Anybody that's there,
Shalom.
that's in the chat. I know you were waiting for a while, and we're gonna go into it. We're gonna do the best we can and it back and cover whatever you probably didn't hear or maybe missed. But basically, the name of the show is Where There's Smoke, There's Fire. And you see the article that's up there that says Yoke Defense Against COVID Chicken Egg Shortage Fuels Conspiracy Theories. So is it really a conspiracy theory or not? Or where there's smoke, there's fire? Because I'm going to just read a little bit here. It's, as Americans continue to suffer from reduced supply of eggs and the resulting spike in their price, many have subsequently turned to the world of conspiracy theories in search for simple answers to a complicated issue. The ongoing shortage that in recent months has driven up egg prices across the United States has seen the high. The average cost for a dozen of eggs in U.S. cities is hit 425 across the U.S. cities, up 78 from a year earlier.
Mm.
So the average price was $1.78 for a dozen of eggs a year ago, which was written. This article was from a year ago, which would be 78. The national average was $1.78 for a dozen of eggs. Now it's like 425. In different places you go, I know here in the Northeast, I go to Walmart. You talking $5 to $6 for a dozen of eggs. Some places you go is $8, and that's poor people food. That's like the cheapest thing you can get is eggs. If you ain't got really
Yeah.
nothing else to eat, you can buy a dozen eggs. And I remember back in the day, if you got anything to elaborate, Bishop, or anything,
No, no. I was just agreeing
I
with you.
remember
That's
back in
that's
the
true.
day
That's
being a
a,
kid in the '80s. I'm talking. No, go ahead.
no, no. I was just agreeing
Off
with
on
you
in
that
and
you're
out.
right.
I'm
That
repeating right there.
eggs is the cheapest source of protein. All bodybuilders know that. When you got some protein and you broke, you get eggs.
Yep. So when I was a kid in the '80s, yep, you get eggs. When I was a kid in the '80s, my mama sent me to the store $5. A loaf of Wonder Bread back then used to be 95 cents. I'm talking in the '80s. I'm talking 81, 82, 83, 85. A loaf of Wonder Bread was like 95 cents. A dozen of eggs back then might have been like 85 cents, 5 cents maybe for a dozen of eggs back then. 79 to maybe 85 cents for a dozen of eggs. We talking in the early '80s. So that was like the cheapest you could buy if you ain't have no money for nothing. You could get a loaf of bread and a dozen of eggs. You make an egg sandwich. You can have a boiled egg with some oil and vinegar or something. I mean, that was the cheapest thing to get. Poor people food, if you want to call it. That's really what it was. Poor people food. Now something that was so accessible and cheap that you could readily get. Now the prices and what they're saying, the fact checkers are saying, and people are saying nothing to do with a conspiracy theory, which is not a conspiracy theory. Actually, it's just people misinterpret the fact that the yolks of the eggs can be used to create antibodies that can actually block or neutralize the effects of SARS and CoV-2. That's true. There's truth to this, yes. But now the thing is, just any old dozen of eggs is not going to it's not going to supply you with that, because what the research is, and I'm going to go to the research. Right, let me stop talking and go to the research.
Mm-hmm.
And before we touch the research, I'm going to pull the research up here, and if we could read Job 13:4, and then we'll proceed from there.
Okay.
Now here I pulled up something from what's called the NIH, the National Library of Medicine, National Center for Biotechnology Information. You got that scripture, Bishop?
Khan, you said verse 4? Yep, I got it. This is Job chapter 13, verse 4.
Yeah, Job 13:4.
Yep, it says, but ye are forgers of lies. Ye are all physicians
Right.
of no value.
Mm-hmm. Yep. They're forgers of lies and they're physicians of no value. Now, when the truth comes out, they immediately have their lie forgers go out there and do what they call fact check and go and say, no, that's not true. Now, on social media, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or whatever, people are putting posts up there about, hey, did Bill Gates have some foreknowledge of the egg shortage? Of you damn well right, he damn sure did. And everything was put in position for him and his pal, who back in 2013, and I'm gonna go into that too and touch on that. Back in 2013, the owner of PayPal, forget the guy's name, and Bill Gates in 2013, they launched and started selling in Whole Foods what they call eggless eggs, powdered eggs. It started being sold in 2013 in Whole Foods. Bill Gates and the owner of PayPal, together, a joint venture between them two, started introducing eggless eggs, powdered eggs. Right. This is back in 2013. This is 10 years later. Now we're in 2023. Egg shortage is as a result of different factors. But did Bill Gates have foreknowledge? You goddamn right he did. The fact checkers are saying the fact that the egg prices are skyrocketing and there's a shortage of eggs has nothing to do with Bill Gates, with his what's called eggless eggs, just like they got what you called meatless meat. I forget what you call it, Beyond Meat or Beyond Eggs. In other words, you got this term called Beyond Eggs, and you got Beyond Meat, which he has something to do with Beyond Meat, just like he has something to do with Beyond Eggs.
Yeah, Impossible Foods.
So now I'm gonna go here and read from Impossible Foods.
Yeah, Memphis Meats and Beyond Meats.
So I'm gonna read this here from the National. Yep, Meatless Meats and Beyond Meats. That's right. So from the National Library of Medicine, National Center of Antibodies, which are known as IGYS, right there in the parentheses, block the binding of spike to human ACE2. So there's an antibody that's in the yolks of the chicken eggs that actually blocks the binding of SARS and CoV-2 spike protein variants to humans. Now, that doesn't mean that if you go out there and buy a dozen of eggs right now at Walmart and you cook the egg or you just eat the egg yolk and whatever that. No, what it is people put this up on social media, but they don't go into the reading of it. What it is that the experiment that was conducted, they injected a hen with antibodies. Now, what happened is when the hen had antibodies inside of the yolks that would bind, that would stop the binding of SARS and CoV-2 spike protein in humans. But it's in the eggs that are from a chicken that was hit with antibodies. And then the chicken laid eggs and those antibodies inside the yolks. That's true. Now, the science, this is the science right here where they speak about their abstract. It says the SARS-CoV-2 virus is still spreading worldwide, and there is urgent need to effectively prevent and control this pandemic. The study evaluated the potential efficacy of egg yolk antibodies as a neutralizing agent against the SARS-CoV-2. We investigated the neutralizing effect of anti-spike S1. That means egg protein. IgYS on SARS, as well as its inhibitory effect on the binding of the coronavirus spike proteins. Egg yolks showed significant neutralizing potency against SARS-CoV-2, pseudovirus, various spike protein mutants, and even SARS-CoV in vitro. It might be a feasible tool for the prevention and control of ongoing COVID-19. Boom. And that's what the National Institute and Library of Medicine says about it. So yeah, it is true. But these were egg yolks from hens that were injected with antibodies, with these antibodies. And when they laid eggs, in the yolks of the eggs they laid, produce antibodies in the yolks that would stop the binding of the SARS and CoV-2 in humans. That's true. Now, that doesn't mean, or if you go to Price Right, or if you go to Stop and Shop, or if you go to ShopRite, or any of these different places and buy a dozen of eggs, that you buy those eggs and that you're going to get that effect. No. Only the eggs that were from the hit with the antibodies is going to be able to do that. So now now going to having a shortage on what? Eggs. And egg farms have been being burned all over the country. Last year, coming into this year, and even earlier this year, here in Bosworth, Connecticut, there was a big egg farm that went up in smoke. Let me see if I can pull that up. Yeah, in Connecticut. Here we go. You can see that from in flames over the weekend. More than 100,000 chickens lost as egg prices explode. This is Tuesday, January 31st, 2023. So that was maybe
that was less than a month ago.
About 2 weeks back.
Yeah.
But then you back over this way. No, go ahead. Yeah, about a month ago. Yeah, well, no, really it's the 16th now, so about 2 weeks ago. About a half a month ago, about maybe 2 weeks in a day or so.
Less than a month. Okay.
Go ahead. You got something to say, brother?
No, I got a scripture though.
If you're trying to talk, no, go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Okay, this is Psalm 64, and I'm going to start at 5. It says they encourage themselves in an evil matter. Now you can hear me out?
You're going in and out. So brothers in the comment board, bear with us, Babak Rashad, because we're having technical issues with the stream buffering. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, we're working around the power of the air. This is Psalm 64 and 5. It says they encourage themselves in an evil matter. And is talking about Esau, his elites, right? His elites. And Bill Gates, he's not an elite, but he works for the elites. He works underneath the elites, right? But they hire guys like Bill Gates and other experts, right, in science, education, and other fields.
He's the face they use.
He's a front man. Yup. But they use them to come up with these different devices, because you're talking about how that chicken was injected. But really, that's a GMO chicken. It was injected with the hen, which was injected with the antibodies, and then the egg farms that have been destroyed, right? So this is a evil matter that they encourage themselves in. So they encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privately, right? So it's kind of like what they do is on the same thing they do with the when they have like a dart, what they call the VACCINES. What they do is they'll put out some type of pestilence, right? They'll already have the antis for it, so they'll come out the pestilence, and you'll see some crazy reason those what's some of those companies that make the antis? Pfizer. And what's the other one? There's Pfizer and the other competing one. Johnson & Johnson, is it?
Pfizer, BioNTech, Johnson and
Yeah.
Johnson.
Yep. So what'll happen is their stocks will drop. Their stocks will drop, and then all of a sudden, sometimes a pestilence comes out, and they
Repeat yourself.
magically, huh? Yeah. So their stock will drop, and then
I
somehow some
said
type
you're
of pest.
going in and out when you're speaking.
Okay. Well, I'll try to talk slow. So what I was saying is that those different companies they have stocks, so their stocks will be low. They'll be super cheap. And what'll happen is these elites they'll buy up all these cheap ass stocks, and then all of a sudden some type of pestilence comes out, and they just happen to magically have the anti for it, and then their stocks just jump way up, right? Because
Mm.
this is a matter that they all planned out, you know. So the same thing with this Beyond Meat, the same thing with Just Eggs and these fake eggs that they have in a supermarket. All this time these products been out for years. They've been testing these products and upgrading them, and using people as live experiments on them, because what they plan on doing eventually, which we're seeing that right now, is they plan on
Yep.
destroying the food chain. And so the only who you're going to turn to, you're going to turn to these different companies that happen to be owned by Bill Fakes, to buy their product, so they make more and more bucks. So that's how that works. Meanwhile,
Right.
it's at the expense
So they
of
set
your
the
health.
stage. See, they already have the infrastructure set up. What happens?
Con. So it says they encourage themselves in an evil matter. They
You're
commune
buffering
of
in and
laying
out again, bro.
snares. Yeah, it's gonna happen. I'll read over again. It says they encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privately. They say, "Who shall see them?" Right. Verse 6. They search out iniquities. So these different pestilences, injecting these chickens with antibodies to lay eggs. They got the antibody in it. That's an iniquity I've been searched out. They accomplish a diligent search with their scientists, you know, and the research, which takes billions and billions of dollars and lives, because people got to die for that stuff to those tester pads. They got to use them on live subjects. It says both the inward thought of them and the heart is deep. And then verse 7, but the Most High, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, shall shoot at them with an arrow. Suddenly they shall be wounded. So that's it, Bishop, on that script.
Yep. Yep. And you were going in and out, but hey, we're going to work through it. Now, more in that from the National Institute of now this is from what's known as the International Immunopharmacology, and this is from January of 2021. This is a paper that they published, right? And Science Direct. This is Science Direct from International Immunopharmacology from January 2021. Again, it says here, chicken egg yolk antibodies block the binding of multiple SARS-CoV-2 spike protein variants to human ACE. And they tell you this here. The first report about egg yolk antibodies as a neutralizing agent against tetanus toxin was published in 1893. 3 years later, B. Ring and S. Kiyotatsato discovered the diphtheria antitoxin, the 1901 Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine, and wide application until the advent of the 3RS principle that was first described by Russell and Birch in 1959. The egg yolks gained more attention for their stable chemical properties, low cost, high yield, and improved animal welfare. More importantly, egg yolks neither bind the human rheumatoid factors nor activate the human complement system, which minimizes the risk of inflammation. As a passive immune agent against viral and bacterial diseases, yolks have potential to make functional foods and new drugs. Several egg yolk formulations have been approved to treat goose plaque, duck plaque, and other diseases by China Veterinary Pharmacopoeia. Egg yolk antibodies have also been applied to combat human viral infections, such as the respiratory syncytial virus, RSV, influenza virus, and Coxsackie virus. In one study, anti-SARS coronavirus yolks were purified from chicken immunized with inactive SARS coronavirus, and the egg yolk antibodies were able to neutralize the SARS coronavirus both in vitro and in vivo. Were you able to hear everything I read clearly?
Kind of, it went in and out a little bit, but the apostle in the chat, he said they can hear. We said we both sound fine, so I guess it's between us. So just keep going in the spirit.
Okay. So the thing is, they've known for a while that egg yolks can produce antibodies, and the research goes back to 1893, so it's not a new thing. So now the thing with not the regular store-bought eggs is going to produce that. These are from chickens, eggs that are from chickens that were given the injection. What it tells you here in one study, egg yolk purified from chicken that were immunized with inactive SARS coronavirus. So those chickens that were given an inactive SARS coronavirus, right, antibodies, the egg yolks from those chickens that produce those eggs were able to neutralize SARS coronavirus both in vitro and in vivo, and in humans, in other words. So there is truth to the fact that egg yolks do neutralize SARS and CoV2 in humans. It's true, but not just average everyday eggs you buy from the store. Now, the shortage of eggs that's going on, because again, where there's smoke, there's fire. There's back on the screen here. In 2013, this article says why Bill Gates is investing in chickenless eggs. See, we're in 2023. We're dealing with a shortage of eggs in the store. We're dealing with the prices going through the roof, and egg farms, commercial egg farms, are being burned down to the ground at the same time, which is going to stare everybody to what Bill Gates and the PayPal started in 2013, which is 10 years. See, this is basically them setting the infrastructure for what's going to come later. So now in 2020, when the pandemic hit in 2020, if you remember going back to 2020, they shut down all of the food processing centers. So they had to euthanize all the chickens were being euthanized back in 2020. And it wasn't because of influenza. It wasn't because of influenza. It was because there were no people that were at the process being able there to work. So they just killed a bunch of healthy chickens. This is back in 2020. Now, before 2020 hit, in 2015, 2 years after Bill Gates and the owner of PayPal, with their joint venture together, producing eggless eggs, and they started selling it first at Whole Foods. In 2015, Iowa farmed to kill 5 million chickens in effort to contain avian flu. This was 2 years after Bill Gates and the owner of PayPal came out with the powdered eggs that they were selling at Whole Foods. So what does that tell you? These devils back in 2015, they put that avian flu out there, killed those chickens. That was a test run. Now, after 2015, what comes after 2015? After 2015, what comes? In 2013, when this article pulled this up, artificial egg made from plants backed by Bill Gates set to revolutionize cooking goes on sale at Whole Foods. This is in 2013. I'm just showing you a receipt. So in 2013, Bill Gates and the owner of PayPal together came with this joint venture, and they started selling it at Whole Foods. Now, once they started doing that, again, in 2015, you had the fire in Iowa. You had the situation in Iowa where they had to put down 5 million chickens because of avian flu. Now there's an outbreak of what they call influenza, and they're getting rid of chickens right now in 2023, from 2022 to 2023. You got something to say, Bishop Ayathan?
Yeah, well, that's why the scriptures say, woe to them that destroy the earth. you know. And this is why it says this. I got Revelation 12:12. Read
See,
this
we're
real
going through
quick.
it, and I'm going to pull up some more receipts.
Kind. Yeah. So this is the devil, man. Because yep. So Revelation 12:12, it says, "Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe or destruction to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, the devil," which is Esau. If anybody's new to the so-called white man, right, and particularly the elites, the devil has come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. So the reason he's doing this is because ultimately the plan is to put the squeeze on especially the American citizens, but the whole earth, because this whole supply chain, the supply chain is something that's worldwide. That's not just here in the United States. The supply chain is worldwide, but here in the US especially, because people are so used to living deliciously, right? Like it says in the scriptures. Well, they plan to put the squeeze on these people by eliminating the ability to go grow your own crops, farm your own animals, you know, and go get your own
Yep.
food. They want you to come to the devil for everything. So he wants total control of all resources, whether it's water, the air you breathe, or the food that you eat. So they want you eating out of their hands. And this is a way for them to force you to get that MOTB. That's what it's all about at the end of the day. It all boils down to that. So now he's setting the stage for everything.
That's why the scriptures say he causeth all, both small and great, rich and free, poor and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead. This is how they're going to cause everybody, small and great, to receive that mark, because they basically run a monopoly over every resource possible. So in order for you to participate, you have to play their game, which is you have to take the charagma, you have to take it in your forehead, you have to take it in your right hand, and use that as a bit of exchange instead of using cash. That's why they're eliminating cash. And now everywhere you go, a debit card is basically prompting you to get used to not using cash anymore. Now you got places that are not accepting cash anymore. That's how the scriptures say, where the brother's reading, he causeth all, both small and great, rich and free, poor and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand and on their forehead. Causes everyone to do it.
That's right.
They're cutting those doors off. Yeah, it keeps buffering. I don't know if you can hear me clearly.
Yeah, we just work around it, man. They can hear you on the stream, so it's all good.
Go on. So I'm gonna read this here, Job 13:4. But ye are forgers of lies, ye are all physicians of no value. That's the so-called white man. He dealing with this whole thing with the egg shortage. Now that's why. Now in 2013, Bill Gates. No, go right ahead.
No, physicians are no value because they claim to be. They claim we are the best. What they say, the best medical in the world, and this and that, and really, their medical system is garbage, right? Their nutritionists, you know, you go get a nutritionist. The nutritionists are garbage. Their doctors are garbage, and they're all set up to keep you sick. All set up to keep you sick and to keep you on medicines. You know, there's no such thing as a real physician today. Okay, so the reason why people are all jacked up. The reason people are all jacked up is because what? Because they're consuming these different products that are made in a laboratory. You can't replace what the Most High created with something you make in a laboratory. Even in animals now, you know, you got animals going to the vet, and I never seen so many animals, dogs, you know, the pet dogs, and going to the vet for these cancer and these benign tumors, and you know, enlarged hearts and all that. And then, you know what? Yep. You know why? Because even in the dog foods and the cat foods and the different foods that they give these animals, they lack nutrients, you know? So the brother put the scripture, how the whole earth groaneth. Yeah, it's true, because it is because of this devil, you know? This devil just got to be taken out. That's the bottom line, you know? But this is all part of the curses, right? You know, even in the book of Deuteronomy, it says that we should go to the devil in the want of all things. So there's not going to be, well, of this devil, I'm just gonna grow my own animals. I'm gonna grow my own, you know, sheep and this and that. You're not gonna be able to, you know.
Nope.
That's it, Bishop.
Because they're killing everything, even out there. Even if you live out there in the woods, the freshwater streams and rivers out there are have forever chemicals in them, PFAs. So there's forever chemicals that are found in the water that's in the Great Lakes region, where you get where a lot of fresh water is at, and they got signs up there telling you don't drink the water or don't go fishing there. That the fish that's in those areas are compromised. So even if you out there off grid, you trying to do the off grid thing, you can't escape. There's no escaping this man's so-called New World Order. And the only way that the elect are going to escape of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai is through Yahushai, through believing in Yahushai and through the Lord giving us salvation. Through the Lord bringing us salvation. Through the Lord taking us out of here in them chariots. That's why the scriptures say in a twinkling, in a moment, twinkle in the eye, we're going to be changed, because these bodies are
defiled, man.
Are effed up, man. These bodies are corrupt. We're basically GMO, man.
All this shit we are
with these bodies.
These bodies are totally defiled, man. But the scriptures just say, well, we're going to eat our bread defiled among the nations. Has that not come to pass? And is coming to pass.
That's a part of the curse. Yep. We shall eat defiled among the nations. And the setup, again, for this whole egg shortage and this egg deficiency, again, in 2013, Bill Gates and his partner from PayPal, they started producing eggs at Whole Foods. In 2015, in Iowa, they had to lay down 5 million chickens in Iowa because of avian flu. Now in 2020, pull this up here. In 2020, in April, nearly 2 million chickens at Eastern Shore Farms were set to be destroyed because of coronavirus-related plant shortages. It wasn't because these chickens had avian flu or there was a problem with them. It was because there were nobody that was working at the plants to process them. So since everybody, remember, the government mandated everybody had to stay home, they shut down everything. So everything was shut down. The pipeline, everything became backed up. And as a result of that, we're talking like, so that process that was put in motion, this is the residual effect of it today, 3 years later. 2 million chickens at Eastern Shore Farms were destroyed because of coronavirus-related plant shortages, meaning there was nobody working at the plants to process them. Let me get this next one. Maryland euthanized 2 million chickens. This is April of 2020. We're coming on down the line.
Damn.
Then you chickens, have back 20 meat shortages then. Why? You see that? There were meat shortages then. This is back in 2020. This is an article from 2020 that's saying coronavirus U.S. meat shortage is possible by end of the week. This is back in April of 2020. You see that? And it's going to start looking like now. This is from back then. See this? These are all pictures from 2020. And the food processing plants were shut down because of the government mandate. So there was nothing being produced. So healthy chickens were euthanized back then. This is 3 years ago. Healthy chickens were euthanized and killed. So guess what?
And euthanize means
everything from back then.
Euthanize means they can't lay eggs anymore, right?
No, euthanize means they killed them.
Oh, they killed them. Okay.
When they have a term called euthanasia, which means death in Asia. When you euthanize somebody, you kill them. Or if they want to say you humanely killed them, euthanize. When they say euthanization, that means that's a nice way of saying killing somebody, or putting somebody to sleep.
And by the way, when they euthanize, they don't euthanization is supposed to be like supposed to be they call it not harmless, but painless, right? Painless and like quick. But if you ever
Right.
watch them, what goes on in factories, they don't kill them animals. They don't kill them painlessly. They got these machines that'll twist their necks off and
Yo,
rip them apart. You know them, and them animals go through a lot of stress and painful deaths. Esau's got a lot
yep,
to pay for in the kingdom. He's gonna have a lot to pay for. Can I let me bring the scripture out, Babakusha? I quoted it earlier, but I
go
want to read
ahead.
it. This is
Go ahead.
Revelation 11 and 18. It says, and the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead that they should be judged. Right. And that's talking about these Esau and the other nations. Right. They're going to be judged for all the wickedness that they've committed. Number one, Esau, but then other nations too, because they played ball with Esau. Right. They're all in on the gig. It says, the nation was angry, and thy wrath is come,
That's
and the
right.
time of the dead, that they shall be judged, and that thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants the prophets, and to the saints, and to them that fear thy name, small and great, and shouldest destroy them which destroy the earth. And who's that talking about? Jake ain't out there destroying the earth. Jake don't own any kind of equipment that could destroy the earth. That's all Esau. Esau is destroying the earth and
Yep.
draining it out of all of his resources. You know, all the minerals that it
That's
drains the
right.
earth of, and when I'm talking about precious metals, or minerals, or even oil, all that stuff is in the earth for a reason. You know,
Yep.
the oils to help with the tectonic plates so they can move smoothly. The minerals that they're cleaning the earth of, those are precious stones that are for those stones are for healing. You know, those stones are healing stones. They give off certain vibrations. When you read about the kingdom of heaven, we're gonna have streets paved with gold, and we're gonna be surrounded by precious stones. Okay, because they give off a
Yep.
healing vibration. And then you got the minerals that they deplete the
That's right.
earth out of. And then the minerals are in the earth because they're supposed to go in our foods to keep us healthy and strong and vibrant. So Esau has jacked everything up. Go ahead, Bishop.
That's right. They've dragged everything up. Surely your turning of things up shall be esteemed as the potter's clay. They've taken everything that's right and made it wrong. That's how this devil operates. Because their whole thing is, again, the scriptures say in the Lord's Prayer, right? It says, "Let thy will be done in heaven as it is in earth." Esau's whole thing is they're gonna do, in other words, what is done in hell, they're gonna do it on earth. The invert. They're the opposite. They're the exact opposite. They're the exact negative of what we are, which is positive. They're the exact negative. We're the positive.
Con. Well, what they're trying to do is
The
they're trying
Lord
to bring,
had respect Abel unto Cain's offering and
yeah,
rejected Abel. That's how these people operate on. They're on the total negative and we're on the positive. Everything they
con,
do is the opposite of the righteous side.
con,
They're the opposite of the righteous side. They want to bring hell on earth where the Lord said, "Let thy will be done in heaven as it is on earth." They want to bring hell on earth when the Lord is going to bring heaven, which are heaven, the Israelite heaven, where the Israelites are going to rule and be in power.
mm-hmm.
So Esau's trying to bring hell on earth. Well, really, he's bringing it.
Yeah, it's here. The
Yeah, it's
finalization
here.
is at MOTB. That's the finalization. Is the MOTB.
Yep.
I mean, he's one step away away from it.
So,
He's
so
so yeah. He's basically turning us into, well, it is into Satan's realm, like the bishop said, hell on earth. You know, when you see Ghostbusters, all the goblins and the ghouls running around, that's his vision of utopia. And
yeah,
the goblins and the goons are these people. They're turning them into
right.
goblins and goons, and they're turning them into the very, like the idols that they worship, like Baphomet, which is a transgender being. They've already accomplished that. You got dudes walking around with titties, and then you got chicks walking around
Yeah,
dicks.
right. Because this whole society, The Bible again is about the patriarchy. So what they're doing is they're going on the side of the matriarchy. God is worship, which when you go into the most, I think it's Ashtoreth. When you go into her, Ashtoreth, Ilnana, Ish, Ceramyces, those are the names of the same goddess. Um, the worshippers of, I believe, of Ishtar. Ishtar, the goddess Ishtar, when you go into her, the priests of Ishtar were men who were transgender. The thing about Ishtar is she was a goddess that was able to change the gender of a man into a woman and the gender of a woman into a man. Not a non-binary god, they call it when you look it up, which that ancient god, that goes back to ancient Babylon. Everything goes back to ancient Babylon. It all goes back to ancient Babylon and the ancient worship of these ancient Babylonian gods and deities. That's really what Esau is following. He's following the ancient gods and deities of that the ancient Hamites worship. So, you know, people, they look at us, they look at GMS. You guys are conspiracy theorists. You guys are crazy. But the scriptures say, and if I could read, if I could pull it up, Ecclesiasticus 5 and 15, 2 Corinthians
Flagger, you broke up. I didn't hear it.
11.
Flagger, I didn't hear that.
15. If you could get it's 2 and 11.
Micah 2 and 11.
You can pull up 2 Corinthians, and it was up here in the Apocrypha.
Hey, Bishop Slagger, man, you just kept breaking up. I didn't even catch that.
Buffering. Here we go.
I didn't catch the scripture you wanted me to pull up.
If you can get 2 Corinthians 2 and 11.
Okay.
2 Corinthians 2 and 11.
Okay, coming right up.
Okay. Yep. So I'm gonna read this here in the Apocrypha. I don't know if brothers can hear me out there. But in Ecclesiasticus 5 and 15, it says this. Be not ignorant of anything in a great matter. Be not ignorant of anything in a great matter or a small. That's Ecclesiasticus 5 and 15. And that's why we're going through this. We're going through this, pulling out receipts. The scripture said, be not ignorant of anything in a great matter or a small. Do you got Corinthians?
Kind of. 2 Corinthians 2 and 11.
In and out. Okay.
2 Corinthians 2 and 11. It says, lest Satan, which word Satan means what? Adversary, opponent, opposer, you know.
Adversary.
Yep, which really means adversary. Least Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices.
Right, at least Satan should get an advantage over us, for we're not ignorant of his devices. These are these devices. They got many devices out there that they're working and angling and using against us. Because really, this is all about, everything they're doing is about thwarting the second coming of Yahweh Shai. Everything that these devils is doing, everything that you're seeing is about them thwarting the second coming of Yahweh Shai. That's what it's all about. Every low down, dirty thing that they do is all about trying to thwart the second coming of Yahweh Shai. Every low down, dirty thing that they're doing. To hell with the other nations, it's all about Jacob and Esau.
That's it.
You were saying something?
Yeah. I got a scripture here. Romans 11 and 7. It says, what then Israel had not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election had obtained it, and the rest were blinded. So, like you said, they want to thwart the second coming of Yahweh Shai, right? But the main thing is they want to keep Israel away. They want to keep the Most High's back turned to Israel. So in other words, they want to turn Israel against the Most High, so that the Most High will not come to deliver them, because that's the real reason Yahweh Shai is coming back. you know. But what they did not count on is that the Most High left what? He left a remnant, right? The scriptures say that he had 7,000 men that should not bow down to the image of Baal. The image of Baal is what? That's that NWO. Ultimately, we'll mention
Right.
again MOTB. That's the ultimate of it, you know. Because in the book of Revelation said what? It says he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, right?
The M-
So that image is going back to what? That MOTB, the NWO. And how does he have power? Is everything we've been talking about today. They got their technocrats, right, which are their technical experts, staging
Technocrat.
these, technocrats, staging these false flag events, these pestilences, these famines, and is all to lead, like Awashai said, my people are led as a sheep to the slaughter, is to lead them all to that slaughter, to guide them down that path of the MOTB, so they could get their food, they could get their, little money to live, to pay their rent, they could buy products, and basically to be a part of this society, they got to get that MOTB. And that's where all roads lead to that.
Right. Because it's a means of exchange. He called it all, both small and great, rich and free, poor and bond, and you're able to participate in commerce. You can't participate in commerce if you don't have that mark, which is a means of exchange.
That's why let me see if I can find it real quick. That's why the scriptures say
So people
this.
who can't see them, what's wrong with them is things. There's two things that's wrong with them. Either they're working for the spiritual demon Satan directly, right? Either they're working for the spiritual demon Satan, the physical counterpart on the planet, which is the so-called white man. That's 1 and 2. Those are two things with these people. Either they're totally possessed by the spiritual demon Satan and they're directly working for the spiritual demon Satan, or they're working for his physical counterpart, an extension of him on the planet Earth, which is the so-called white man. I don't know if you're still there, brother, if you can hear me.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm looking for a scripture. Khan, I can hear you. I can hear you. I'm looking for a scripture.
Yeah, this man is the devil. I'm gonna grab another scripture here that was on my.
Okay, I got something real quick. This is James 4:4. James 4:4 says, "Ye adulterers and adulteresses, know ye not that the friendship of the world is enmity with the Most High? Whomsoever shall be a friend of the world is an enemy of the Most High, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai." So these people, they will go and get that MOTB because they don't want to be an outcast of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Most of these people that make their decisions, like the Dart for the C19, the Windows 19, most people got it because they don't want to be. They wanted to be able to still get in the club, again to the restaurants, or they wanted to be accepted by the world. That's why they got it. That's why most of these people got it, especially the men. The men knew that was bullshit. Most of them, they got it because of their woman.
Yep.
They got it to keep their job, because they had a family to take care of or whatever. They got it so they wouldn't be looked at crazy by their woman or their family or out there in the world. So if you love this world, you're an enemy of the Most High. The love of the world will get you smoked.
That's right. You can't serve two masters. You can't serve the Most High and serve Mammon. You're either gonna love one and hate the other. That's the bottom line.
Oh, Khan. Oh yeah, Slag and Bishop, because that brings me to a point about what you were saying earlier about the MOTB is a means of exchange. Khan, it is. It's gonna be the only means of exchange. But you know what the thing is? It's not even about money anymore. To them, it ain't about money. They got all the money. They got what they want is beyond money. They want to own your soul. They want to own your body. They want to own your spirit. So this is why they want to put that MOTB in you so you can pledge allegiance to Satan. Look in the back of the dollar bill. The back of the dollar bill says what? In God we trust. And then there's the
Right.
all-seeing eye of Horus on the back of it. So the God they trust is right there, is Satan. So what they're going to do is they're going to take that, which is a talisman, and they're going to stick that inside the chip. So now, oh, you really want to show that your love is that you trust in this? You got to put it inside of you. So now you're showing your allegiance to the God of that money and the God of this world, which
Right.
is Satan.
They're saying, well, what the so-called, what Edom is saying is that the Most High don't exist, that He's God, and that you're His creation. That's Mo. They've genetically modified. We're genetically modified. So He's saying, look, you're my creation. You don't belong to the Most High. You're my creation. There's no God. I'm God. That's what He's saying. The scriptures say the fool has said in his heart that there is no God. And what it is they're mad because Jacob got the birthright. But the birthright was given to Jacob before we were even born. It tells you that in Genesis 25 and in Romans 9 breaks it down to the very last compound. Neither having done any good or evil, that the purpose of God according to election might stand.
Election. Yep.
It was said that the elder shall serve the young. So this was set up from the beginning. This was the Most High's plan from the beginning. Esau, you are never going to get the blessing. Never. The Most High set it up that Jacob was going to get it. It was set before the foundation of the earth. It was set up, already set up that way. So there's nothing that you can do. You can be as mad as you want, like the little retarded kid that you are, the genetic freakazoid and mutant that you are of the earth, with no melanin, right? You have no melanin. You're really the freak of the earth. You're the genetic mutant and the freak of the earth. Like I said, it is a dry scalp. When it speaks about the leprosy of the skin, leprosy of the scalp is a dry skull, a thin yellow hair. Blondes don't have more fun, right? You got to use sunblock number 200 on your skin. You go out there and try to get a tan, and then you turn into a goddamn red lobster. You look like a lobster boiling in a pot of water. And you got the suntan lotion on. You see them all burnt up, their arms, their face, their back, they're all burnt up. Red. Yep. Like the scriptures say, the first came out red all over, like in Harry Gunn. You get that melanoma, you get them spots all over your skin, which basically is early forms of skin cancer. Since I was a kid, I'd never put no sunblock on. I go right out. I've been out in the sun all day and all night when I remember as a kid. All I had on was lotion. And they have
Go ahead, Bishop. I don't know if you're buffering or what.
Buffering, yeah. Yep, but if you got nothing else, I think we pretty much hit the point.
All right, well, I got a scripture we could close up on. This is Matthew 24 and 22. And it says, except those days be shortened. And those days are the days we're in right now. It's talking about these days right now.
Yeah.
And except those days be shortened.
Time right now.
Yep. And except those days be shortened, there shall no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Yep.
Right. And we just gave you an example of dealing with the no flesh shall be saved. Now, I made mention of out there in the if you try to live off grid and you got the freshwater rivers and streams, they're polluted with PFAs, which is known as forever chemicals. And the fish that are in those freshwater lakes and rivers and streams, right? That's in the Great Lakes region and all that, up in the mountains, and all that, in Middle America and all that, in the hills and all that. The fish are contaminated with PFAs too. and mercury and high levels of mercury toxicity too. So it's like, yo, there's nowhere to run to, there's nowhere to hide.
Okay.
So
That's
if the
how
Lord doesn't cut that time short,
now I was just saying, when the Lord reappears, there's going to be
no
nowhere to
flesh
run and
shall be
hide
saved.
for them
That's
as
a
well. Bishop, that's all I got.
good. So we pretty much covered what I wanted to cover. And again, the water to you brothers on the comment board, brothers putting scriptures up there, you brothers that tuned in to listen. I hope you picked up something and learned something off of this. Even though we labored to try to put this lesson out with all the factors I'm having with the technical side of this thing, with it going in and out when the brother's reading the scripture, his voice going in and out, my voice going in and out. You're not maybe being able to hear us clear or whatever. But we're gonna work on this through the spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yashai and see how we can fix this. But until then, we give praise and glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Kakwadash, and I want to say shalom to you, brethren
Shalom.
out there. Shalom
Oh,
to you,
hey,
brothers.
Bishop, I'm gonna say one more thing, man. Hey, to you brothers out there, and if any sisters are up on the line, GMS on there the channel got shut down, so we got a new one, freshly created. So it's in just put in the chat. So subscribe to that. That's a new GMS on air channel. I just put in there. It's in there. The link is in there.
So you put it up in there, and they can get it, and they can click on it and find the new,
go subscribe. Yep.
The new site link. And I'm gonna try to figure out a way to get our help in here in the StreamYard, and maybe we could open up on Rumble and broadcast and put it up on Rumble.
Okay.
While we're doing it live, like right. There's a way to do it. I just haven't figured it out yet. I'm into Wab Lai La.
All right, brother. Shalom. Shalom.
Brothers and you sisters out there.
Shalom
to any apostles and any other bishops in the chat.
All right. Shalom.
Shalom.